Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sports Vault. Jersey Joe Archino back here. And one of the greatest matchups in all of world football kind of got overshadowed by American football the other day with the AFC Championship game and the NFC Championship game. But nonetheless, Roma and Juventus always provide us with a classic matchup. And it was the case once again. Juventus beating AS Roma 1-0. And it played out the way I thought it would, with Juventus extending their winning streak in Serie A to 11. And this really is a symbolic testament to where these two clubs have gone. I mean, it's incredible where Juventus, again, it seems like I was on the air just the other day talking about it at the start of the season. They lost their first two matches for the first time in 87 years of Serie A history. And now what Massimiliano Allegri has done, getting his side to the peak of Italian football once again with their 11-game winning streak. They find themselves currently in second place right behind Napoli. But I think you're starting to see Juve is becoming the well-oiled machine that we all know and are so used to seeing. Paulo Dybala is obviously one of the reasons for that success. He could have had 2 goals in this one, but his goal was the difference. And I think you look at the youth that Juventus has and the confidence they have gained more and more as this winning streak has gone on. I think Paul Pogba is playing the best of his career. Dybala is obviously one of the best young players in world football. They have so many good pieces. They have a mix of guys like Marchisio and Chiellini and Khedira and Lichtsteiner, and you have youth like Paul Pogba and Dybala. I really think right now Napoli, obviously Higuain is the leading goal scorer in Serie A, and then Dybala is right behind him with 12. Napoli is going to be very hard to kind of catch and overthrow them. But Juventus is Juventus. Their style, their pedigree, their championship players is very hard to dethrone. And I think we've seen with that 11-game winning streak, they're starting to reaffirm their dominance and take the throne back in Serie A. And I think when it's all said and done, based on everything we've seen with their transformation, they very well might stand as the champions of Italian football once again. I think the reason you could never fully count them out, though, is because they never struggled in the Champions League. It's such an interesting dynamic where Manchester City, an English Premier League club, comes into their first Champions League matchup against Juve. Perfect. 5 wins from 5, no goals conceded, and they lose to a Juventus side, like I just said, that had their worst start in 87 years in Serie A. But Juventus wins that game, and they look like the better team in that match. For that reason alone, playing the best Europe has to offer and looking that good, I think that is a bold testament as to why you never had to worry about Juventus. They were going to be just fine, and right now I think they're the best side in Italian football. They showed it with that win over Roma, and Roma obviously beating them the first time they played in the season, and obviously it's a new day, it's a new era for Roma under Spalletti, and I think if Spalletti has to do one thing right now, it's he has to improve their offensive talent. This is a side that lacks tremendous offensive talent. Roma had the fewest goals out of the top 6 clubs in Serie A last season, and it's just not enough. I think talent is a big part of it. They don't have dominant strikers, dominant guys who are great offensive talent. But Spalletti definitely has his work cut out for him in that regard. And I think Roma has a lot of nice pieces. They're clearly have had a difficulty really being just, I think, blurring that line of being average. I mean, they're at that 5th spot now. They finished 2nd in Serie A last season. I think Spalletti is obviously a guy the fans are happy about. He had a great run with Roma before, and they're hoping he will return them to where they want to be as the champions of Italian football. But I think that can't happen this season. He was kind of thrown into it too late. It's going to take him a lot of time to institute his tactics and his philosophies, but obviously you have to start with the offensive side. Roma is just not talented when it comes to the offensive side. They don't have enough dynamic explosion where they could just score at will, and I think that game is kind of a symbol of why Juve is always winning all these titles, is because they have such the perfect balance of the counterattack to offense. I mean, they defend perfectly, and their counterattack is almost flawless into how well they can pass the ball around and then score on you. They have the perfect balance everywhere from goalkeeper to Gigi Buffon to the attack with Dybala and Pogba to the defending of Chiellini and Marchisio. They have such a tremendously talented, well-balanced group. Massimo Milano Allegri was under a lot of under a lot of pressure, because if you're the champions of Italy and you start the season as the defending champions and you lose your first 2 games, a lot of people are going to write headlines that are very critical of you. But in his defense, he has really brought this side back to where they need to be. They right now, like I've said many times, I think they are the best side in Italian football right now. Their swagger is fully back, and again, never should have doubted it because they did too well in the Champions League. That was an indicator that they were going to be just fine. But we will continue to see how Juve pans out. The Napoli is in first with 47, Juve in second with 45, and Fiorentina and Inter Milan both in the third and fourth spot with 41 points each. But we'll see how the Serie A battle continues to play out. Until then, Jersey Joe Archino here with the Sports Vault. You can follow me on Twitter at Joe Archino, on Instagram Jersey_Joe_Archino, and I will be back next time.